All right, guys, so we're back. So as we were saying, so we were at C, and we say that C will be half P, and we say that half P would be equal to half times the matrix 2, 3. But remember now, you're multiplying each of those elements in the matrix by a half would be the same as dividing each of them by 2. So you would have 2 divided by 2, which is 1. 3 divided by 2, which is simple, 3 over 2. Is that clear to everyone? Any question? All right, so down here now we have D, which is the sum of the vector P and Q. What would that be now? So P is what? 2, 3 plus the vector Q, which is negative 1, negative 1, 1. If we add these two vectors, remember we're adding them like matrices. They are really matrices operation that we're carrying out. So if you're adding these two matrices, what will you get?
1, 4, sir.
Right, so you're adding their corresponding elements. You're adding the 2, the plus negative 1. And then you're adding the 3 with the 1 down below. 3 plus 1. Let me fix this. And when you add these, 2 plus negative 1 would be just equal to 1. And 3 plus 1 would be equal to 4. So that would give you the vector when you add Q, when you add P and Q. Is that clear to everyone? What is the answer to this one now? So this would be what? P minus Q. So it will be 2, 3 minus 1 and 1. So what would we have here, guys? So if you have 2 minus 1, that gives you what?
1, sir.
No, you see, you have to be careful.
Oh.
When you're minusing a minus, it means minus times minus, which is actually plus.
Yeah.
So minus 1 minus times minus 1 is a positive 1. So now you would have to add it to the 2. So you have 2 plus 1, which is
3.
3,
2.
And then now you would subtract now 1 from 3, which is 2. So that would be your answer. Is that clear, guys? So here now for this one, when you're actually adding 3P plus 5Q, what would that be? So 3 times P, remember P would be the matrix or the vector you made, vector 3, 2, 3. And you plus it with the vector 5 times Q, negative 1, 1. And so if you multiply out what you have in the first one, you would have what? 6, 9 plus multiply out this one. So 5 times what we have in this matrix here. So we get -5, and 5. And now, what would be the result of adding these? Anybody? Can you give me a result?
1, sir,
1 above
and then 14 below.
and 14. All right, good. Is everybody clear with that? Raise your hand if you're understanding this so far. Okay. All right, guys. So let me clear this and move on. All right, here would be the results. Okay. All right, here we have another question. So question 3 says that P is a point 1,5, Q is a point 9,3. Write down the vector PQ. Now this is something that you have to be careful. One of the best ways of dealing with vectors is if you can sketch your X and Y, your coordinates on an X and Y axis. So I would suggest what you want to do first is just quickly sketch your X and Y axis and your, so let me see what these are. So we have 1, 5, and 9, 3. All right, so I don't know. All right, so the space here is a little tight, but I'm going to try to fit it in. So we have 1, 5, that means X equal 1 and Y equal 5. So let's say that here is 1. Let me, and it goes all the way to 9. So I guess I need to make that a bit smaller than that. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so we want 1 on the X, 5 on the Y. So we're going up 1, 2. Oops, that's a little too long. 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 5, it means you would go 1 in the X direction and 5 in the Y. So this position vector will start from the 0, go to 1 and up to 5. So it will be right here. All right. The other one, which is 9 on the X and 3 on the Y. So you will go all the way to 9 on the X, but you're going up 3 places on the Y, which is about right here. All right. Everybody following me so far, raise your hand if you understand how to get it at this point so far. All right. Now this vector starts at O and it ends at what? P. So this is a vector. No, it starts at Q. Sorry. this starts at O, so the vector Q is 9, 3. So this one starts at O and ends at Q. So this one ends at Q. This one starts at P and starts at 0, O, and ends at P. So this one is the vector going from O to P. So it stops here, right? And if you put in the coordinates 1, 5, and this one would be 9, 3. Now, what you want to find, this is what they asked you to find. They didn't ask you to find OP or OQ. They asked you to find what? PQ. And this is where drawing this is necessary, because now you can have a sense of which direction you're going. So you draw your line from P and you go into Q. So this is the vector. Sorry, let me fix this. So this is the vector. This is the vector PQ, and they want you to find that vector in terms of its position value, meaning the coordinates value. All right. Now you have to be able to know if they ask you to write it in column vector, it means that they want the coordinates. If they ask you to write the magnitude, it means that you have to use the Pythagoras theorem formula. So you're going from P to Q. So this is a vector PQ. So going from P to Q. Now, remember now, if you're thinking about the vector from P to Q, in vector addition, if you start at P and you end at Q, which other direction, if you start at P, you could go to get to Q? So you can go, for this one, you go from P directly to Q, but suppose you are going the other component vectors, which direction would you have to go to end up at Q? If you're following the components from P, so this vector, if you carry it here, you have to treat this as your resultant vector. So PQ is your resultant vector. Then you have two components. Now, you have the component going from O to P, but if you are going back to Q, following the component, you would have to start at P and then go into the direction of P to O and then to Q. So if you go from P, let me see if I can highlight that for you. So you start at P, you go to O, and now you go to Q. That is the other pathway that you can take to go to Q. Is that clear to everybody? Now, to get the resultant vector, if you take that pathway, what it really means is that you would have to find the negative of OP. If you're going this way, you're going from O to P. But if you're coming back this way, you're going in the opposite direction of OP. So it means that you're coming negative OP. So in other words, we can write the vector PQ is equal to, or it is equivalent to, going from P to O plus. So when you go read from P to O, then now you go from O to Q plus the vector O to Q. Raise your hand if you understand what this is saying to you. Is that clear to everybody? If you're taking a pathway from P to Q, it is the same if you take the pathway from P to O and then to Q, right? It is the same place that we're ending up, but we're taking different pathway. That means we are saying that going from P to O, P to Q would be the same as going from P to O and then O to Q. Now we know that the position vector of OP, we know that OP, the vector OP would be equal to 1, 5. Raise your hand if you all agree with that. Guys, right? But this vector is not going from P to O. It's not going from O to P. This one is going from P to O. So if you're going from P to O, it means that you have to have the negative. So this implies that P O would be equal to the negative of OP, which is -1, -5. Raise your hand if you understand that logic, students. Let me see those who understand what just happened. All right, who doesn't understand? All right. All right, so PO is equal -1, -5. Now OQ, we know that OQ is just simply what? 9,3. So OQ equal to the position vector 9, 3. So if we're at if PQ is the same as PO plus OQ, then this will be equal to what? PO is -1, -5. Plus, and then you're adding OQ. OQ is 9, 3. So you have 9 and 9, 3. Now, when you add them in the matrix form, you're adding a -1 plus a +9, you get what? Come, guys.
8, sir.
You're adding 9 plus 1, you get what?
8.
8. And you're adding -5 plus 3, you get what?
-2.
-2. So that would be the answer for PQ. So PQ is equal to the position vector 8 and -2. So that's the coordinates for PQ. Now suppose they ask what is the magnitude for PQ. What would you do now?
Find the square, sir. Square root.
Now, the second part of the question asks you to find what? The midpoint of PQ. How would you find the midpoint of PQ? So we're going from P to Q. Then the midpoint going to be half of PQ, right? So for this part where it says the midpoint of PQ, then you want to find what? Half. All right. So if you're finding the midpoint, you would have half of 8, 2 minus 2, which would be equal to 4 minus 1. All right. If you're they're asking you to find the vector qm from q to m. Now you're going back in this direction. So they say m is the midpoint of PQ. Find the vector qm. Now if m is the midpoint of PQ, we're going from P to Q, you will get 8 minus 2. If you find the midpoint, you will get the coordinates here would be 4 minus 1. So now the other part of it now is find the vector. What would be the vector from P to Q? Now remember that the coordinates here, the coordinates at Q would be what? 9, 3. Now, if you're going from P to M, from Q to M, it means then if you're going in the opposite direction, right? All right, so from P to M would be actually from P to M would be half of PQ, but from Q to M would be half of QP. All right, now QP would be equal to negative of what? QP would be the negative of
9 and 3, sir.
It will be the negative of QP, PQ. Remember that this is what we work out for PQ now. So the negative of this will give you QP. Right? So you would have negative 8 and negative 8 and positive 2. Now, if you're finding Q to M, which is half, so Q to M is equal to half of PQ, which is minus 8 and 2. Q to M is half of QP rather. So you would have what? Negative 4 and positive 1. So that would be from Q to M. So that would be that. All right. Here they say that you're to find the vector PR. The vector PR would be where they say that the triangle PQR, they say that QR would be equal to negative 1 and 3. So QR, where's So QR, from Q to R, -1 and 3. -1 would be on this side. So -1 and y equals 3. So this is going all the way up to 4 here. So you have y equals 3 about here. So -1 and 3 will be right here. And this point is where you have the vector from Q to R. So from Q to R, which is from Q to R, will be there. But they are now saying that PQR is a triangle. PQR is a triangle such that QR is equal to that. Find the vector of PR. All right, so what the reader wants here now, they want this line going from P to R, because remember now, this point here would be R. So if you're going from Q to R, then this coordinate here, we're -1, 3. Now you're going from P to Q, but the coordinates at P would be 1 and 5. Right? So from P to Q would be the same as going from P to R is the same as going from P to Q, and then from Q to R. So in other words, you would be adding the vector PQ, which is 8/2, with the vector QR, which is -1 and 3. All right, so if you add, so this now, PR would be equal to PQ, which we calculate as 8, 2, 8 -2, plus QR, which would be -1, 3. When we add these, what would we get? Anybody? 8 plus -1 would give you what? So you would get 7, and -2 plus +3 will give you 1. So this would be the vector PR. So PR would actually be 7, 1. Any question, guys? Guys, any question? All right, let me clear this and move on, so nobody's asking any question. All right, so these are supposed to be the solutions that you were doing. All right, so the solutions for these questions are there. You just have to be able to work through them. Here is another one. I want you guys to try to attempt this question. So a question is asking, it gives you a diagram here. So let us see what it is, what it has. So it says sketch, the diagram is a sketch. Now the point P is the point 2, 3. So right here is the point 2, 3. And Q is the point 6, 6. Write down the vector P. Now, remember now, when we're talking about PQ, we have to think of these individual points as position vectors, right? So, the point, so it's a right here, yeah, and in column form. Now, remember that this vector, which is going from P, the vector P is 2, 3. That means the position vector P goes from 0 to P, which is 2, 3. And then now the position vector Q will go from 0 to Q, which is 6, 6, 6. Now, if you are to find the vector PQ, what you're really saying is that to get from P to Q, you can go from P to O. And if you go from P to O, you will be going the negative of 2, 3. So you're saying to go from P to Q, you can go from P to O, and then from O to Q. So P2, give me a second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. So we're going from, so instead of going from P to Q, we could go from P to O, and then from O to Q. So we are saying that PQ, the vector PQ, would be the same as going from P to O plus O to P, O to Q rather. All right, remember now, P is a vector 2, 3. That means OP is 2, 3. So if OP is 2, 3, then PO going to be the negative. So this would be the same as negative OP plus OQ. Oh, sorry. OQ. Right? But we know we know that the negative of OP going to be the negative of 2, 3 plus, if you're going from O to Q now, you get 6, 6 plus 6, 6. So what would be the answer for this, guys? Guys? If you find the negative of OP, what you get? This becomes negative 2, negative 3.
Plus.
Now you're adding that to 6, 6.
So you'd have 4 over 3.
So you will have 4, 3. Is everybody okay with that? Guys, not getting any response. So the only thing I can say is that you just need to revisit the videos after I'll try to post them between now and the morning. Go ahead, Mr. Lamar.
Oh no, sir, it's because they're not seeing any responses. That's why I raised my hand.
So you are following Mr. Lamar?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Waysome, are you following? Ms. Green?
Sir?
Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Dorothy?
Yes, sir.
You're following?
Yes, sir, so far.
Who else we have here now? Ms. Waysome, Ms. Cabrera? You following?
Yes, sir. Or for also the answer, you could write the equation as OQ minus OP.
Right. You could also do that. Thanks much for that. All right, so guys, the most I can tell you to do, there are more questions of these in the notes, and the notes is already posted from last week. So what I would suggest that you do, just go and look at the questions. The answers are there for them. Try to work it out before you actually look at the answers. So work them out and then compare your answers to what you have there. Is that clear, guys? And the most I can say to you at this point is, you know, go to the exam, do your best. There's a final tip for those who were not here when I was giving this tip. If you're doing multiple choice